Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today, I'm going to present about variation and selection.
Good day to you, and welcome back to another episode of Simplified Learning. For today, I'm going to talk about variation and selection. This is another lesson or topic that is included in the 0610 biology syllabus from Cambridge. So let's begin. Variation is defined as differences between individuals within the same species. And there are some factors that you have to be aware of, such as sexual reproduction and mutation. So let's break down sexual reproduction and mutation and how they can cause a variation to an individual. Before sexual reproduction, you knew that the offspring will be having a genetic differences or genetically unique from the parents. That's why the mixing of genes from the father and mother to produce offspring with a completely unique genetic makeup can cause variation. That is for sexual reproduction. It happens during meiosis. Second one is the mutation. Mutation is the random changes of the DNA sequence of an organism. It could be deletion, it could be translocation, or it could be duplication. Now, variation can be genetic or phenotypic. When we say genetic, it means that the differences in genetics among individuals within the same species, this is mainly due to sexual reproduction and mutation. While if it is phenotypic, it means the variability of phenotypes within a population, which are influenced by both genetic and environmental factors. Now, variation can be continuous and discontinuous. Discontinuous, right? So continuous versus discontinuous variation. Continuous can result in a range of phenotypes. Between two extremes. While discontinuous, this is limited. Okay, it results in limited number of set phenotypes. With no intermediate. These are the examples. So for continuous variation, height, weight, toe length, and also the thumb length. Right. If it is discontinuous variation, so we have tongue rolling, and of course the blood type or blood types. Right. Let's move on. let's talk about sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell anemia is caused by the mutation in a gene that codes for hemoglobin. The abnormal base sequence of the hemoglobin gene causes sickle cell-shaped red blood cells. You can see from the image right here, this is the representation of the normal red blood cells having a biconcave shape right here in the middle. Of course, it does not contain any nucleus. Whereas if it is, in here on the right part, or this number 2, this is the sickle cell anemia. Okay, you can compare and you can clearly see the difference between the two structurally. Now, sickle cell RBCs are less efficient at carrying oxygen and more likely to become stuck in capillaries, preventing blood flow. And we have a diagram in here representing how a person or how the offspring will inherit this kind of bad alleles or bad genes. So both of the parents are unaffected, but they are carrier. So there will be 25 chance of being unaffected, 50% chance of having unaffected but they are a carrier of the traits, and 25% chance of having or for being affected to this bad genes. Now, I just wanted to tell you that the symptoms for sickle cell anemia are the following. 1, having fatigue or anemia, fatigue and anemia. 2nd, pain crisis. 3rd, bacterial infections. 4th, lung and heart injury. 5th, leg ulcers. And the 5th could result into eye damage. Now, if the offspring inherit the normal, it means that he or she can have 100% normal hemoglobin. Whereas if it is heterozygous for the trait, I'm talking about the carrier traits in here, it means that they can have this non-life-threatening sickle cell trait. And last but not the least, this 100% abnormal, this could be a life-threatening condition. Okay, so what is the advantage of having this heterozygous trait for the sickle cell anemia? So, in a place wherein malaria is prevalent, you know that this is a serious and sometimes fatal disease caused by a parasite that commonly infects a certain type of mosquito which feeds on human. So sickle cell anemia, if it is heterozygous, can provide protection against malaria because the parasite cannot penetrate on the sickle cell or in this kind of structure, the sickle cell anemia or the sickle cell. Now, let me explain to you that a person with sickle cell anemia will be fully protected against malaria, but likely to die from sickle cell disease. Right? If the person has 100% normal, therefore, this person does not have any protection from malaria and is therefore likely to contract the disease. Whereas, if they are carrier, they're having a greater chance of survival and can gain moderate malaria protection and will not die from sickle cell disease. Now, here are some questions from the past paper, sickle cell anemia is an inherited disease. Figure 5.1 is a photomicrograph of some blood cells from a person who has sickle cell anemia. The question is, explain how red blood cells become sickled shaped. The answer, the red blood cells can become sickle shaped because of mutation. Right. 1 point right there. It can cause change in the DNA sequence, change in the DNA sequence to mark right there, 2 marks, on the gene for hemoglobin. This change can cause different sequence of amino acids. So that is the 3rd mark for this question. Another one. Some people who have sickle cell anemia have parents who do not have sickle cell anemia. Explain how people with sickle cell anemia inherit the disease. The answer for that one is written in here. People with sickle cell anemia can inherit the disease even their parents does not have sickle cell anemia. This is due to both parents carry recessive allele for sickle cells, meaning they're both heterozygous for the trait. Using the Punnett square right here, it will show that there is 25% chance an offspring being homozygous and therefore will be having sickle cell anemia. So this will be the 25% chance. There is a 25% chance of having an offspring homozygous to this sickle cell anemia. There you go. Now let's move on with some adaptive features of xerobites. So xerobites, these are organisms or plants rather that survive with very little water, such as cactus. These plants have adaptive features which allow it to maximize water uptake and minimize water loss. Their adaptive features, the first one, it has thick cuticle, which is to minimize evaporation. It has sunken stomata or stoma to maintain humidity around stomata and therefore reduce diffusion of water out of the plant. Small leaves to reduce surface area. Some of them does not have, and some of the xerobites can have this kind of feature, having small leaves to reduce surface area for evaporation. Rolled leaves can, some species can have rolled leaves to maintain humidity around stomata and extensive roots to maximize water uptake. You can see from here, from the image presented in here, photosynthetic tissues right there to manufacture the glucose and substomatal chamber. This is a helper for the gas exchange. Right. Now let's move on with some adaptive features of hydrophytes. Right. So if the xerophytes are the plants who can survive, or plants that can survive with very little water, this is the opposite. For the hydrophytes, they are plants that grow on or in water. So let's talk about the different adaptive features of the hydrophytes. You can see a lotus from here, and we have a water lily from the diagrams, or from the diagram. So first, it has this wide flat leaves to increase surface area for flotation or for floating right here. Okay, and to be exposed as much as light as possible for their photosynthesis process. And reduced plant structure as there is less need for a rigid structural support. Okay, so instead of having a lot of plant leaf right here or different structure, okay, it is reduced. Next, it contains a thin waxy cuticle as for water preservation. So the cuticle right here, it must be present at the surface. Small roots in here, okay, that are embedded in the mud, or small roots as water can be obtained directly through the leaf and stem. And last but not the least, stomata are open on the upper side. Okay, stomata are present in here on the upper side of the leaf in order to maximize gas exchange without worrying too much water. Right, so thank you very much for listening for my lecture for today. That's all what I can offer for you. Thank you very much and have a blessed day. Goodbye.